Welcome everybody and welcome to this Wednesday's webinar, which is looking at building skins for VR. I'm Martin from support and I'm going to be joined today by...
Hi there, I'm Karen and I'm working in the background. And throughout the webinar, we'll be taking some questions. And so if you have a question, please use the Q&A tab because that's where we'll be looking. And also, please keep your questions on topic. If you have other off-topic questions, feel free to write us an email or join our Facebook group or forum. We're around and we're happy to answer that, but just keep your topics to VR, I guess, today. So enjoy it, and I'll see you later.
Thank you, Karen. Right, as the title suggests, we're going to be looking at building skins for VR. Now, Pano2VR 7 comes with a VR button in the web output. So if you click that, you've got a VR tab and we can enable VR. Now, it's important that this has to be enabled or it doesn't work. But what is equally as important is that your skin for the normal web output needs to have the VR button. So if this is deselected, now I'm referring to the default skins that come with Pano2VR. If this is deselected, those buttons will not show, so you will not be able to get into the VR mode. So this needs to be selected. Okay, and just like the normal web output, the VR section has its own skin. Now this is pretty important. The two skins are not really interchangeable. We've tried to make a lot of the actions the same, so like mouse click, I don't know, hide and show something. But generally speaking, you have to think of VR being its own ecosystem. So it's not like, oh, I need a menu, I'll pop to the, the feather orb skin or whatever, copy the components or the elements there, whip back to my VR skin, paste it in and expect it to work. It doesn't. There is a whole different, best way to describe it, ecosystem. So it's basically, it doesn't support HTML, it doesn't support CSS. So what we've done is is all the actions that you would expect to work, we've tried to make work in the VR output. Right, so with all that said, what I want to do now is just have a look at an output, standard output from Pano2VR with enabled VR selected, and we're going to see what the output looks like. Here it is. Now I'm going to start it with no sound, but we do have sound with the fire when the fire plays. And what this panorama has, or what this project has, is it's got pinned video, it has pinned images, it's also got a pinned web element. Now a web element is HTML5 or HTML, so therefore it cannot be shown in the VR output. Okay, so these are some of the ground rules. So this is what this is, basically the basic tour that we've built. It's a multi-node tour. It's got point hotspots. You can have a menu to have a look around, and it's basically a standard tour. Now, this webinar is going to start off with a sort of understand or a basic knowledge that you have a basic understanding of the skin editor and some of the actions. But generally speaking, we'll try and keep it nice and light and nice and simple, so everybody can follow along regardless of their skill set. But really, if you've got no experience with the skin editor, we've got lots of resources on our website where you can actually follow some webinars that we did in the past about the skin. Okay, now for workflow, now I'm using a Meta Quest or Oculus Quest headset. Now our WebVR output is WebVR, so anything that can handle WebVR like the HT Vive, etc., this will work with it as well. It just so happens that I'm using an Oculus Quest or the Meta Quest, and with that in mind, what I've got is, to make my life easier, there's a plugin, and it's the Immersive Web Emulator, and what this does is allow me to see what you would see inside a headset. Now we will be looking into a headset, we'll be using casting to see what it looks like in the actual output. But when you're developing, this is actually quite a good tool. So let's have a look at a output that obviously we've got this project, and this doesn't have any skin. So its default is going to be spinny globe. So what we can do is select more tools, developer tools, and we get the little box next to it, and under the more sort of headings, you'll get this Web XR heading, and you'll see that you'll get this headset. Now this is purely for the Meta devices, and if we have a look here, you can see that you've got the Meta devices there. Your device may have its own plugin for the browser, I don't know, but this is part of the workflow for me, because I'm using the Quest. I can bring this up, I can sort of get it to how I want it to work on the screen, and then the final testing is done in the headset to make sure it does look good. Right, so with this up, what we can do is zoom in a little bit, and I can double click on the handsets, so I can now manipulate these, and now I can get into the VR mode. And it's allowing me to get into VR mode. So you can see that the fire's playing. You'll see that the web element is missing. As we said, we do not support HTML. And here is it's emulating the handset. Now the handset's got like a little joystick, so we can move that around. And we've got the trigger button and then the grip button. But what we can also do here is I can use the keyboard to fire the trigger buttons, so I can move those around. And if you look here, I can hover over the right hand controller, and when it turns all yellow, if I click and hold, I've now got full control over the wand. And we can select an icon, I can press return, or I can click the press button here, and then we can follow that node. All right, now this is a basic skin. This is the basic one. If you don't select any skins, this is what you'll get. You'll get spinny globes are the hotspots to link you to other nodes. All right, so let's just whiz back round. And I think what we'll do now is actually select one of the skins that come with Pano2VR. So let's just go to the feather, and that's updated. I'm going to refresh the screen, because one of the things that we found is you'll even though the browser's updating for the tour, sometimes it doesn't really update for the VR element of it. So let's go back into the tour, go into the headset, and here we go. You can see that we've got our icons. Let's move around so we can see them. So here we've got an icon here for changing nodes. If I hover over it, you'll see it pop up there. And what the project has got as well is it's got a pop-up video and a pop-up image. So here we can see this. If I do this again, there is the pop-up video. So if I select that, you'll see that. You'll probably hear that in the background playing. Let's get rid of that. And let's turn that off, because that's a bit noisy. It's a little bit fiddly, but we can close that, and we can go to this handset, and we can see the pop-up image. There we go. Right, so let's just go to this handset and close it with that. There we go. Right, so this is basically the tour, and this is quite a good way of testing and for developing your skins. The other thing you've got to think of here is in the VR environment, everything is diddy. So in the normal output, you'll have you know, if you had a pixel that was 32 pixels big, so wide and high, it looks fairly substantial on the screen. In a VR headset, it's minuscule. So everything, you've just got to think to your mind, well, you know, everything's got to be scaled up. You know, hotspots are like 60 pixels big now, and hotspot images and things like that. It all scales up. This is why it's important to do your final testing in a headset. Okay, so that's a bit of an introduction to what we're doing. This is a bit of an introduction to the actual tour that we're using. As I said, the tour has got pinned elements as well as hotspots. What I didn't show you here actually is if we spin round, we've got the pinned video, that works, and we've also got the pinned images, they work. What doesn't work, which requires the HTML or the CSS, I think, is when you click on them and pop out. So in Pano2VR, you have the option to pop out normal, pop out 100%. That will not work in VR, but you can still have the pinned image. So that's all that working okay. Right, I I take it everybody can hear me okay, is that right? I'm seeing some messages saying hello Martin and hello Karen. I take it everyone can hear us. If you can just give us a thumbs up, that'd be great.
Yeah, at least I can hear you perfectly fine, and
All
I
right,
don't
okay,
see any
cool.
complaints quite yet. And people
Okay,
are raising their hands. Thanks, guys, for the feedback.
yeah, brilliant. Okay, cool. Right, so what we're going to do then is look at building our own skin. Now, how we're going to do this is I'm going to be using our Gnome Cloud feature. So I'm going to build the project, upload it to Gnome Cloud, and then my Oculus Quest, which will bring in soon, we will then cast to that. I'm going to cast into Chrome so we can get it on the screen so you guys can see it. It's yeah, it was quite a journey to get this all to work, and hopefully, fingers crossed, everything's going to work nice and smoothly. Anyway, so let's start to build our own skin. So I've got a skin I've already started. It's blank. There's nothing in there. So the first thing we want to build really is a way of moving from node to node. So we need to build a hotspot, a point hotspot. So I'm going to bring in a hotspot template. I'm going to give it the ID of ht_node. And what I want now is an image to go on there. So this is the image you're actually going to see. So I'm going to go to the components toolbox. I'm going to select icons, and let's see what we can use as an image. I did spot a nice one earlier on. Let's double click that. That'll do. Right, so we've got an image there, and it's black. I'm going to want it white, so I'm going to select the image. It's an SVG. I'm going to use their color tool and just double click and change that to white. Here we go. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to want that image to be in a background. So I'm going to grab a container. Now, as I said, these need to be fairly large. So I'm going to go 60 by 60 in its size. I'm going to get rid of the border, probably give it a 20 radius so it's a little bit of a curved edge. And what I'm probably going to do here is make this probably a black background. Right, okay, and probably take that down to an alpha 200. I'm probably spending far too much time on this, but I do like to be precise. What I'm going to do now is set the SVG graphic to center. And here's a trick. If you're used to building skins, you'll know about this. If you press the Alt or Option key on the Mac and then drag that into its parent element, it will anchor it wherever you've got the anchor set. So in this case, it's in the center, so it's nicely in the middle. I'm going to make the size here probably 45. Oh, I want that 45 by 45. Okay, so that's going to be my point hotspot image. All right, so let's just make this so ht icon underscore bg. So that's my background, and this is going to be the ht icon. All right, and now what I'm going to do is do exactly the same here. We're going to anchor that in the center, and I'm now going to drag this on top of the hotspot template, and that now lines everything perfectly. Okay, so that's our hotspot, and what I need to do with this really is give it an action. So I'm going to select the hotspot template, and we're going to give it the action of mouse click, open next panorama. We want to use the hotspots URL, and we also want to use the hotspots target view, because when you built the tour, you may have decided to have custom targets. So this set of instructions will tell the hotspot to open each node using that, or changing the node using your target view. Right, so if we close this and save, what we should have is, if we come back to here, go back to our VR view, I will refresh this. As said, it does like a refresh. And let's spin it over, and you can see we've now got our hotspot. So if we wobble over that, you'll see that I can now click it, and we can change nodes. Brilliant. Right, let's wander back. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't give you any indication that the wand is on. I'm actually going to call the handset the wand, these white lines. I think that's a good word to use. So the wand that you're using, when the wand goes over the icon, it doesn't give you any feedback. So what we're going to want to do here is go back into the skin, and I can say, under the scaling logic block, we can say when the mouse is over is true, so the mouse over it. I'm scaling it to 120 pixels. All right, so when it's mouse over, it's going to go to 120. I can give it a transition time. So let's do 0.2. I don't want it too slow. Close, save, and output, and we should get that here. I didn't refresh that, but we'll see how that goes. Let's do this hotspot, or this wand, and there we go. So you can see that's now reacting to that mouse over event. All right, cool. Now, what I'm going to do with this, before I break off and ask Karen if we've got any questions, what I want to do with this is add a preview image. Now, what we've done is just added some sort of tactile feedback, that when we hover over it, it gets bigger, right? But what we could do is not have that, but when we hover over it, pop up an image. All right, so let's do that. So what I'm going to do then is grab a node image. Here we go. Stick it in the skin. Let's make it, I don't know, 150 by 150 pixels. That's fairly large. And what I want to do as well is grab another rectangle to build a background for it. So let's actually, I'll make that 150 by 150. All right, and I'm going to put this to, or call this preview underscore BG, and we're just going to call this a node image. Right, so as we did before, node image, we're going to set to anchor in the middle. I'm going to drag that and drop it onto the background, and then what I'm going to do is make the node image actually a little bit smaller. So I'm probably going to say 45, so 145, so you can see the border but nothing else. And I think what we'll do with the rectangle is change its color to black. I don't know, give it an alpha of 200 to match the others, and get rid of any borders. Right, okay. I could give it a radius and all that, but you know, you should know how to do that. If you want to do that, you can. But what I'm going to do now is going with the preview image. I'm going to set that to center, and I'm going to now hold down the Option or the Alt key and drag that on top of the HT node. Now what I'm going to do here is set its alpha to 0, so it's not visible, so you can only see the hotspot icon. All right, so I'm going to grab the hotspot's background, and I'm going to get rid of the logic block we did to make it scale up. I'm just going to delete that because it doesn't need to do it anymore, because when we hover over it, we're going to want to see our preview image. So what we're going to have to do here though is give it an action, and the action will be mouse over. No, we won't actually do that. I lie. What we'll do is actually in the preview, we'll go to the alpha logic block, and we'll say mouse over when that equals true. I want it to be an alpha 1. I want it to be visible. And again, we'll give it a transition, and we want it to be nice and quick. So let's do 0.2. All right, and that should give us what we're looking for, he says. So let's have a look. That seemed very straightforward and quick. So let's just see if it does do it. So let's, he says, come on. Right, we're not seeing that, so why aren't we seeing it? So let's go back in, have a look at the skin, and say, right, it's alpha 0, and we're saying on mouse over when that equals true, we want it to go to alpha 1. Okay, so that's okay, that's working. Here we've got no actions, and here we've got the mouse click action. Okay, right. So what possibly could be the issue here then is this, he says, is this caching. So let's refresh, go to the output, let's come over to the, let's cursor over, and that's not working. Okay, right. We won't panic. What we'll do is just have a quick look at what's going on. So we've got the image, the node image, that's set to visible. Everything is set to visible with the node image. That's fine. I
just wanted to say I was a little bit busy behind here, so I don't know what's going on. But Andre is saying that alpha needs to be at least 0.001 to recognize the mouse over. Otherwise, it has to be
Ah,
mouse over
no, no,
parent.
no, right,
Yeah.
okay. Well done, Andre.
Thank you. And I think I enabled chat, everyone. I'm sorry if that was turned off. I think I turned it on, but
Right.
let me know.
That
Okay,
that was
back to it.
a perfectly good call, Andron. Um, Basically, what I needed was mouse over parent. All right, not mouse over parent, because obviously, as you say, it's invisible. It's not active. You can't mouse over it as an individual. But when we mouse over the parent, i.e., the hotspot ID or the hotspot template, then it should function. So let's have a look at that. And that should, yeah. So that was a good call. Well done, well spotted. So let's go over. So let's go into VR mode. We can nudge over, and there it is. That's working. So very good call on that. And there we go. So there's our hotspot that's now got the node image. And what we want to do with this now is, just to finish it off, is give it the tooltip, so the title. And again, because the sizes we're dealing with, the text needs to be fairly large as well. So what I'm going to do is add a text box to the skin. We're going to call this node tooltip. And I'm going to anchor this bottom and drop this onto the node image. So again, option, drag, drop, and it pins itself. I'm actually going to set this to 100% wide. Okay. I'm also going to set the height to around about 50 pixels, and I'll explain why in a second. I'm going to enable the background. Do we need more? Probably change that to black, I think, just to keep with the theme. I'll get rid of the border. I don't want that. I will change the text to white, so we've got white text against a black background. But what I also want is for this text box to show the point hotspot text. So we're going to highlight all the text. I'm going to use the insert placeholder under hotspots, and I want it to show the hotspot title. So we click that, and that's what it will do. Right, now, under the text boxes attribute, I'm going to deselect default, and I'm going to bring up the fonts to say 16 points, make it a little bit bigger. And at the moment, we've got the horizontal is set to center, but the vertical I'm going to set to center as well. And what's going to happen here is, if the text needs to go over 2 lines, it can go up and down, and there's going to be plenty of space for it. I don't have to start worrying about scaling the background or the text box. It's just there's enough space there already. All right. But I will do is add word wrap. So if the words are too long, it will go into two lines, but there's plenty of space here for it all to fit. Okay, and I think what I'll do here is, like we did before, is change that down to 200 for the alpha, so it's not quite as solid. Okay, so let's just get into this. Go into the headset, and there we go. All right, so that's that working. All right, now I think we've done enough with this. Now I need to grab a drink. Karen, do we have any questions?
Hi. Sorry, I lost my mouse there. There aren't any questions, but I just wanted to kind of rewind a little bit. A lot of people showed up pretty late, and I just wanted to reiterate that Martin is using the Chrome browser. And 2, he's building a separate skin because VR skins are, completely, not completely, but they're a different, like a different canvas that you're drawing on, and it has its own limitations. So he's using a new skin, a different skin in a different section of the output settings. Just for those who are unfamiliar with how this is
I can
working.
quickly, obviously with Pano2VR open, I can quickly go back into that, because what I want to do now is cast it actually into the Oculus browser, into the Oculus Quest itself, and we'll, again, using Chrome, we can actually cast into Chrome, and you can see exactly what I'm seeing in an actual headset rather than using this simulator. The simulator is great for just initially building something, but what it's not very good at is the sizes. Text boxes will appear too small, but in the headset, they may appear to be the right size, or vice versa. You think, oh, I can see that all right on the screen. You'll have a look at it in the headset and it's rubbish. So it's always worth actually doing your final testing. But thank you very much for that, Karen. I wasn't aware that people were joining later, but that's fine. But what I'll do is we'll go back and just reiterate what we've just said before. You need a web output. The web output needs a skin that has a VR button to be able to access the VR output. All right. Also, the VR has its own skin. The skin itself in VR does not support HTML. It doesn't support CSS. So all the actions that you're seeing, even though they're very close to what we do with the web output, they're not the same. Okay, it's a completely different skin, a completely different way of it working. But as far as you're concerned, you'll open up the skin, your mouse click, show something, hide something. To you it's the same, but obviously going in the background it is very, very different. This is why you can't really pop into a skin here, copy an element, go into this skin and paste it, because the chances are it won't work. You need to build it in the VR skin. Okay, so with that all said, what I want to do now is cast. Now this is going to be interesting because this has been working very well. So what I'm going to do is open up Chrome and I'm going to select Oculus Casting. Now when you do this, you need to log into your Oculus website. Again, if you're using other headsets like HTC Vive, then it may have its own way of casting, but the Meta Quest does this rather well. So I'm going to go over to the headset. I'm going to pop that on my head, so you'll hear the little springy noises. There we go. And what I'm going to do here now is select to cast to the... There we go. So you should see that. Now what I'm going to do is just grab my mouse and make the screen a little bit bigger. And yeah, let's go full screen. Let's just go for it. Right, I'm going to try and keep the thing as stable as I can. And what we're going to do now is open up the browser. Now, I've actually been a little bit hasty, to be fair. And what I haven't done, so I actually am going to come out of this. This is this is all part and parcel. This is actually linked to my Garden Gnome Cloud account. All right. So what I haven't done is uploaded these differences. So I need to upload these into my cloud. There we go. So this is now being all uploaded and that's now done. So that should show me that's now done. And what I'm now going to do is put the Quest back on my head. And I'm going to just, I like to do this, clear browsing data or history, refresh the page. So this is it. I'm going to activate it with sound so we can hear the fire. I'm not sure if you can hear that in the background. And we're now going to go into the immersive VR mode. All right, so this is what I'm now seeing in the headset. This is casting to Chrome. I'm just going to have a quick peek, make sure it is. Yeah, cool. And when I cursor over, we can see the pop-up images there, and the text on that is actually pretty good. I like that. That's quite good. That's quite clear. As I say, in Chrome it was a little bit blurry, but when you're actually seeing this in the headset, this is coming across really nicely. I think the only thing you could possibly do here is probably have a little bit more alpha on the text box background, so it's not quite as black as it were. But other than that, I think it's good. But whilst we're in the headset, as you can see, we've got the fire, we've got the sound, we've got our pinned images, and we've got our...
Slow down just a little bit. We're getting a little pixelation. Oh, there we go. Better.
Right, okay. So you can see that we can, perhaps it's moving around too quickly perhaps, but you can see we've got our pinned images working, we've got our pinned video, but as I say, because of the restrictions, you don't have the option to pop out. But there we go. So that's those, the hotspots with, all right, let's take that off. So that's the hotspots with the preview images. Right, I'll put that back on George. Hopefully you all saw a picture of George earlier on in the Facebook group, but that's where my headset is now sitting. He's sitting on George. Okay, so that's that. So what we've built so far is a point hotspot with a pop-up image, not pop-up image, a preview image of the next node. And obviously when you click it, it will then move to the next node as well. So it's a fully customized hotspot. And of course you can, because it's built in the skin, you can add, rounded corners, change colors, do all that you need to match whatever website that it needs to match. Okay, so let's have a look at the next thing we're going to do. I'm going to hide this because I don't want this in the way. And I think the next thing we're going to do is a pop-up image. Now, one of the things we haven't said, and this brings us nicely onto it, is with VR, you don't see the skin until you select the menu button. All right. With a normal HTML5 output or web output, all right, you build a skin and you can have, bits and pieces around. You can have buttons, you can have zoom in, zoom out buttons. In VR, that doesn't work. What you have to do is pull up the menu, and then the menu is static to where you brought it, or like where you showed it. So if you then move away, the menu moves away with you. We will see this when we build a menu later on. But the point I'm trying to make is that with our normal pop-ups, you have a point hotspot, and when you click it, in the skin will pop up an image. Well, that won't work because the skin itself is hidden. Only hotspots are visible. So what you have to do is design and build your pop-ups that they are child elements of hotspots. Now, so let's build one so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So if we just call this ht underscore image, here we go, image. So that's our hotspot. I'm going to call up, I'll grab another icon. Let's just call this, I don't know, image. We'll grab that one, and we'll do exactly what we did before. I'm going to give it a icon. We're going to, oh no, tell a lie. I'm going to select the color tool and change that to being white because I like that to be white. And apply again because they're SVGs and we can do that. So let's just call that image icon. And what we're going to do is grab a background. I think what we'll do is, did we not make it 60 by 60? I seem to remember. Could be wrong. And we'll make that background black. We'll set that to 200 and no, let's give this a radius of say 20 just to give it a little bit. Now with the image, I'm going to set that to center, anchoring, drag and drop, again holding down the Option or Alt key to center it, and the image itself, I'm going to change that. Oh no, we'll call it 45 by 45, and we did that to 50, wasn't it? I think that's what we did. I seem to remember. No, actually, that looks a bit bad, to be fair. So let's go back to 60. Okay, so that's my hotspot image. So let's just call this image icon BG. Right. Oh. Okay, and what we're going to do again here is center the anchoring point, and we're going to drag this on top of the HT image hotspot template to make it center. Okay, so that's that done. Now what we've got to do now is build the pop-up. Now this is going to be interesting on the understanding that it needs to be fairly large. So I'm going to grab another rectangle, and we're going to call this this just image underscore background, and we're going to make this, I don't know, let's do 500 by 400. All right, so it's a fairly largeable thing, and I think what we'll do now is grab the external image loader, and we'll make this 380 by 280, I believe, and then we'll do exactly the same again, anchor it in the center, drag and drop so it centers it. Actually, we can afford to make that a little bit bigger. Let's just do that to 480 by 380. Okay, that'll do me. We'll leave the background, or I'll change the background to black. We'll get rid of the... oh, no, tell a lie. We're going to take the... Right, okay. I'm on the image loader. We're going to delete the background. So let's just change that back to white. Okay. There is a bit of a caveat with this. I believe we're going to be fixing this, but basically, the image loader, if you have a background selected, then the images sort of tend to bleed through and not be a proper image. If you turn the background off, they work brilliantly. Again, it's something to do with what's happening in the VR environment. The VR skins that we've got are always good. If you've got something not working, always have a quick look at the skins that we've built and added to Pano2VR. You may find that something's been disabled, which may not be disabled by default. But anyway, I'm not going to go into any great detail on that. But that's just a little thing you've got to remember to do, is just to deselect the background there. So under here, underneath the background rectangle, I'm going to change that to black, set that to 200. Probably going to get rid of the there, and I'm going to give it a radius of 20, so we'll give it a curved edge. Okay, so that's basically the pop-up. What I'm going to do again, as we've done so many times now, is anchor it in the center, hold down the Option or Alt key, and drag that inside or on top of the HT image hotspot template. All right, so I've now got my icon, and oh, didn't want to do that. Got my icon, and we've got the pop-up image. So let's just call this image pop-up. I like to give everything nice names. Okay, so we are going to set this to alpha. No, actually we won't. We will set the alpha to 0. Okay. So this part is now hidden. So on here, what we're going to do is give this the action of mouse click. Let's go to alpha, and we are going to change element alpha to 1. I want to do it fairly quickly, so we'll do 0.2 of a second, and it needs to be image pop-up. All right, so image pop-up. There it is. Okay, so that's what we're going to do there. So it's going to pop up to that. When it's open, we need to close it. So what I'm going to do is copy this. So when it's open, we'll be seeing this. This will cover our hotspot image. So we can give this an action to close it. So we can just paste that in. I'm using the keyboard shortcut, so I just did Command C or Control C for the computer, for PC. And now I'm going to do the V to paste it in. And in this case, what I'm going to do is send that back to 0. So alpha 0, and again, duration of 2 seconds, and for the image pop-up. Yeah, okay, or I could have done self. But anyway, right, that should work. So let's just have a quick look at this. All right, he says, let's try that again. Okay, I seem to have broke the output. Why have I broke the output? Wrong one. Why have I broke the output? Let's have a quick look what I've done here. So we've got mouse click, change element alpha. Oh, got that in twice. So mouse click, change element alpha to a 1, which is the image pop-up, which is not what I want. Right, I want the image background, don't I? So image icon background. Sorry, image background, where are you? Can't see you. Here we go, image background. Right, image background. So I want to make that visible. All right, and then that's going to make itself invisible. So let's just have a quick look here. So mouse click, change element to alpha 1, no delay, 2-second transition time to show this. Let's get rid of this action for the second and just check to see if that works, just to see if Chrome is actually having a bad day or I'm doing something to break Chrome. So it looks like I've done something to break Chrome. So let's just go back into the testing environment. Here we go, and have a look. Here it is. I'll double click on this, and if I click on this, we see it. Brilliant. All right, so that's working. All right, so that's, as I say, this is quite a good for testing. It's no good for the final test, but it's quite good for testing. So we know that works. And here, what I want to do is going to be mouse click, alpha, change element alpha to 0. Again, we want 0.2, and we could actually leave it at self, really. Okay, and let's just see that working. And click. See that? Click. It's gone. There we go. So that's now hiding and showing. The only thing it's not doing is pulling up the image. All right, but again, that is just one action, and that action is nice and simple. With image hotspots, when we drop the image into Pano2VR, it puts the URL, it puts the image path into the hotspots URL. So what we need to do then is go mouse click, set value, and what we're setting the value for is, let's do the R. So this is basically a placeholder for relative paths, and then we want the placeholder to actually get the data from the hotspot URL HU, and we'll close that off with a bracket. Now these are placeholders. If you're not used to Pano2VR, if you go to our website, we've got a whole list of these things. Basically what a placeholder does is pick up data from elsewhere within the software and puts it in this box. So in this case, it's the hotspot URL that says this is the image we want to display, and it puts it in here. So that should then work. All right, so let's just have a look at that. Here's the output. Have a look at that and click. There's the image, but the image is fully blown out. Why is it blown out? Well, because with the image loader, all right, you've got a couple of settings here. Let's have a look. Right, so what you've got is content scaling. If it's set to none, it will be the actual size of the image, which we don't want because we want the image to fit the external image loader. So we need to set that to minimum. So it's minimum size. The other thing is if the image is a bit small, at the moment it's anchored to the top left-hand side. So the image will be here. All right, so if I set that to the middle, okay, the image should now be in the middle of this pop-up. So let's just have a quick look at that. And we can click, and there it is, and it disappears. All right, just one more little trick I want to do with this before we finish with the image pop-up, and we'll have a look in the headset what it looks like, is what also the skins support, or VR supports, is audio MP3s. So if I drop those into the skin, you can see we can add some skin sounds. All right, now what we can do here is add another action. We can say on mouse click, under media, play media loop once, so one time, and let's have window open. That's the window open sound. All right, and then here when we come to close it, we can have mouse click, media, again play it once, so loop once, and we want the window close sound. All right, so with that done, let's have a little listen. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it here, but let's see if we can. If I put my volume up, you might be able to hear the fire in the background, but this will now, see, open, and that closes. All right, okay. So you can have these sounds. What you can also do is add sounds into the viewer. So if you wanted narrations or you wanted some text speaking, you can do that. You can add a button, but you've always got to remember the only things that are visible all the time are point hotspots. Anything else you build in a skin will only be visible when you've selected to see the menu. All right, so again, we will see this, but yeah. All right, I think that's right. I said what we were going to do here now is to see this actually in the headset, to see what this actually looks like. Now, before I do that, let's not do what we did before. Let's upload this first. So all these changes were just uploading to the cloud because obviously my headset is connected to the cloud. All right, so let's just do that. Let's get a shot of that so we can see the whole browser. Just grab the headset and cast. That should be casting pretty soon. You should see that. Yep, cool. Let me just make that window a little bit bigger so you can all see it. I'll try my best to stop wobbling around, but it's quite difficult when you can see that. So let's just refresh the page, start it with sound. Right, we should be inside the VR environment fairly soon. There we go. I take it you guys can all see that. Good. And if I wobble over, you can see our image hotspot. And when I click it, there is the image. If I click it again, and you should be, well, you might be able to hear the noises. Again, what you could do here is on a mouse over, expand it up to 120. I might do that when we go back into the skin, because obviously we'll keep it like this. Well, that one didn't need it because it's got its pop-up image, but it's just nice to be able to have some sort of tactile feedback when you mouse over it, so people know that they've actually done it. Okay, so let's just pop out of this and quit, and let's just put the headset back on, George. Thank you, George. That's pixelated a lot now, but that tends to happen when you come off it. Right. Any questions, Karen? Do we have any questions?
Yes, we have a lot. Well, not a lot. We have a few. There's just a few things I also want to review, and that is to say that we have built-in skins that you can use. That's, for anyone who's wondering. And also, you can apply, or you can also use an Enter VR button on your regular skins. This is something, if you just want to quickly use a regular skin, you just have to realize that maybe not all the features will work in the regular skin. Yeah. Okay, so that's just that. And let's go through the questions. So also, if you haven't checked out the chat, I've posted a link to the same project that Martin is currently working on. So you can look at that in your headset, or also on the regular desktop browser, and try out the emulator as you're following along. So Andre is asking if you can activate the immersive mode automatically. And the answer is no. That's a security issue. There's nothing we can do about that. So that is, sorry, no. Andre's asking if you have any recommendations for exporting VR tours offline for a client to see. And we usually recommend, what is it? VR Tour Viewer.
That's it, VR Tour.
And I can add a link to that. And Seth is asking, oh, do we support stereoscopic views? And yes, we do. There's a tutorial on our website. We have examples also on our website. And
yes.
Yeah.
And
so,
also,
yeah.
actually, well, can I just jump in? One of the things that you guys can't see, which I can see in the headset, by the way, is all the point hotspots are floating in 3D space. They're not pinned on the walls. They are actually floating in front of you quite nicely, and it's done really nice. And of course, when you open up a pop-up, again, in the Chrome browser, it just shows a boring pop-up, but it's actually a little bit away from the wall, and it's quite nice, and it's quite a thing. This is why your final testing really does need to be in the headset itself, and this is where the Gnome Cloud upload really comes in, because obviously it's a link. You can save that to your history in your browser, and it's very quick and very good for developing. But anyway, sorry, Karen, carry on.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just seeing that Seth is saying if you can display the traditional stereo view. I'm assuming in a Pano2VR project, you mean side by side, like left and right visually? And I would say yes, you can.
Yeah, stereo supported in the headset. So
let's see, we've got some more questions.
How are we doing for time? Actually, this is whizzing past, doesn't it?
And
It's like, I've only done two things.
Do you have an option to show information points in VR in the same fashion as callouts on desktop? And yes, I think so. Martin, did we lose you?
No, I'm back now. I should be
Okay.
back. It's all right. I went back because I was drinking. I didn't want you guys hearing me gulping.
Yeah, no, it's okay. That's
And of
perfectly
course, I
fine.
said something while I wasn't quite near the mic. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think Martin, are you going to be showing up info pop-up? I think you are, right?
I wasn't, but I can. It's basically with an info pop up. It's just a text box, and it's basically like any other info pop up. I mean, I can show the one in with the skin. Well, you know, by the looks of time, we are sort of running. I say running out. I mean, time is time. We've yet to show a video pop up, and we've yet to show making a menu. I think if no one has any objections, what we could possibly do is finish today with making the video pop up and then saving another webinar for making the menu and an info pop up. If everybody's okay with that, I think that might be a good thing.
Yeah, we can do whatever everyone likes, so but we still have a bunch of questions. Let's get through
Right?
them.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Uh, is there a plan to incorporate 3D objects into Pano2VR? We already do that, but I think you're wondering about like uh, uh, another 3D option, right? And I think the answer is it's on the to-do list.
Yeah.
Um, Martin's asking if there's an easier way to use the cloud. You send a link to us. I can send a link to a client. Yeah, that's what I did, Martin. I sent a link. This is just a shortened link for you, and in the webinar chat, and you can open that link directly into the headset
Or a
and
browser or whatever. Yeah.
or on your desktop or wherever, and it should be that simple. I don't the you still have to type it out or use your handset, right?
I was going to say, if we just quickly have a look at the website, Gnome Cloud, basically when you upload a project to it, so I've uploaded my VR project, but I can get the link, I can get an embed code, and it even produces a QR code, so you could actually save the QR code and stick it somewhere and someone view it, and it opens up with the QR code. So those are the options with it, and it gives you all the data. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good because I think Martin sounds like, what is the easiest way? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Can you use floor plans and maps with VR?
No, because again, that's HTML. I'm sure if it was possible, we'd be doing it. But at the moment, it can't support it. You could probably support an image in the skin, but again, you'd only be able to see that once you've activated the menu. So yeah, so you could probably do it, but an actual so PDFs and floor plans and maps won't work, like as in the map element and PDF element, but a map image you could probably get away with. That would probably work, but again, it would only be visible when you've selected to see the menu, which again, it opens directly in front of you. If you then move away, it will then move off until you close and reopen the menu, then it's back in front of you again. So it's probably not the best to do. Anyway, any other questions?
Oh yes, it keeps going.
Oh, good.
I think we've hit our record for the most questions in a webinar. We might not have the time to answer every single one of them. So I'm trying to kind of comb through these, finding the most asked questions. So, for instance, will polygon hotspots work in
No,
VR?
no, they're
No.
not supported.
Um, and we also get asked a lot, can I export a project as a standalone to the VR headset without internet? Again, this would be, we recommend
VR, VR tour
VR
viewer.
Tour Viewer
Yep.
and, or I guess with an Android web server. I don't know. That's what Thomas is saying in the background. That's, yeah. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, okay. You can use the Android web server as a local host. Oh, another good question that just came up, John. Thank you. Will animated hotspots work with 360 video?
Lottie's 360 video.
360 video and animated point hotspots. I have to
360
admit, I've
video
never tried
should.
that. I know.
Animated hotspots. Well, Lottie's are not supported.
Okay.
I can't say that I've tried an animated hotspot.
Okay.
So I can't answer that. And I don't know.
I think Thomas is saying no.
All right. Okay. Cool.
Um,
I mean, I've tested a lot of things with this, or we have,
yeah,
we have
yeah.
tested a lot of things with this to try and break it and see what because as I said, one thing that we can't say enough, the VR side of this is a different beast. It's not like building a skin for the web output. This is a different beastie altogether.
Well, there's still a lot of questions, but
I mean, I'm quite happy to wrap it up now and have next week or whenever we want to do the, the image pop up and then the menu and then say perhaps an info pop up. I'm quite happy to do that. Or if everybody's happy to carry on to do the image pop up, I can do that. Or sorry, the video pop up, not image, video pop up.
We could carry it on. It's just that it probably won't happen for another week or two, like the next webinar. But okay, so
no,
that
stop
we
it.
can. We're getting so for those of you who don't know, our boss is in the background yelling at us. I'm just kidding.
He's a nice guy.
He's a great
Honest.
guy. We'll do another part 2 in a few weeks. And if you have ideas, questions, let us know I'll put our email address in here. Let us know. You can send us an email, or if you're on our Facebook Pano2VR users group, message us there. Let us know what you want to know, and we'll put Martin to work.
Right, but that link with what we've done so far, as Karen said, that link is live. If you want to view it, open it up in your own headsets and see the creations we've just made, like the hotspots and the image pop up. Then it's all there. It's all live. It's for you guys to see right now. So yeah, all good.
Also, someone had asked, with all the questions and a lot of people need to go or showed up late, if we would have a review of all the questions and the answers. And yeah, I'll put something together and keep an eye on our webinar page. I won't put all the details into the YouTube only video, but we tend to collect all of the projects and any additional information in the webinar page on our website. So keep an eye out for that. And I think, I think that should be good. Anything to add, Martin?
Other than, see you all next week or next time round. I think as you say, we'll wrap this up now. So yeah, I think we're done for today, and thank you very much all for joining us today. It's been a good subject, and I think a subject people wanted to see. But yeah, thank you all very much for joining us today. Over to you, Karen.
Bye.